Some tech papers are just updates. And then there are the ones that completely change the game. That's what we're talking about today. We're going to dive into that 2020 paper on GPT-3 because this thing didn't just show off some new tech, it totally rewired how we think about what AI can even do. And this quote, it just nails the feeling of reading it. You expect this super dense technical thing, right? But you walk away with your mind kind of blown. It wasn't just some dry engineering report. It was really the story of a breakthrough that honestly felt like it surprised even the people who made it. So what was the big deal? What made this paper so revolutionary? Well, it basically captured the moment AI crossed this invisible threshold. It's when AI went from being these specialized tools you had to painstakingly build for one job to something way, way more flexible. Okay, forget about all the talk of billions of parameters for a minute. The really wild idea, the core of it, was this question. What if you didn't have to retrain a model for every single new thing you wanted it to do? What if you could just talk to it? Give it some instructions, a couple of examples, and it just figures it out. That was the huge conceptual leap. And that right there brings us to this huge shift in AI. The paper basically marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. We went from these carefully sculpted tools to general learners. So let's break that down. The old way, right? If you wanted an AI to translate French, you built a translator model. Great. But if you then wanted it to summarize a book, you had to build a totally different summarizer model, each tool for each job. It was super slow, super expensive. The new way this paper talked about, a single giant model that could kind of do everything. It just adapts on the fly based on what you ask it to do. This student analogy is just perfect for explaining it. It really wasn't about the AI just getting a little bit better. It was a totally different kind of change. It's not like it was just better at the stuff it already did. No, it learned a brand new trick, how to learn in the moment. Something just clicked. Okay, so how does that even work, this new ability to learn in the moment? This is where we get to the real heart of the discovery, something that's now the foundation for pretty much how all of us use AI today. The big idea here has a technical-sounding name, few-shot learning. But don't let that fool you. It's actually super simple. It just means you can teach the model a new skill without touching its code. You just show it a few examples of what you want, right in the prompt, right there in the chat box. And here's the craziest part. This wasn't on purpose. The engineers didn't sit down and design a few-shot learning feature. Nope. They just made the model absolutely massive, fed it a huge chunk of the internet, and this ability, it just sort of appeared. It was a totally unexpected side effect of making it so big. Okay, let's walk through a super simple example. Step 1, you give it an instruction. Say, turn these movie titles into emojis. Step 2, you give it a couple of examples, like Star Wars is a star and some swords, The Matrix is a green circle and a pill. The model sees that, recognizes the pattern, and then bam, you give it a new movie and it does the same thing. No retraining, no coding. It just adapts right then and there. All right, so that's the theory. But what could this thing actually do? I mean, the paper was packed with examples that back in 2020 were just mind-blowing. For instance, it could write Python code on the fly. It could solve really tricky abstract analogies. And maybe the most shocking thing of all, it could write entire news articles that were so good, so human-sounding, that people in studies had a hard time telling if a person wrote it or the AI did. And this quote just hits it on the head. It really felt less like a system that was trained and more like one that was prepared, like it was ready for whatever weird language puzzle you were about to throw its way. But hold on. This paper wasn't just a big celebration. The authors were actually super upfront about the problems, the limitations, and the real dangers. And this part is absolutely crucial. Yeah, for all its cleverness, GPT-3 had some serious issues. It wasn't great with deep logical reasoning. It would sometimes contradict itself in the middle of an essay. And, a really big one, it wasn't actually thinking. It was just really, really good at pattern matching. Plus, it inherited all the nasty biases from the internet data it was trained on, and it wasn't shy about spitting them right back out. What's really incredible and kind of scary is how clearly the authors saw what was coming. They warned right there in the paper that this tech could be used for misinformation, for phishing, for massive amounts of spam. And, well, look around. We are absolutely living in the world they predicted back in 2020. They were spot on.
Okay, so we've gone through the tech, the good, the bad. How do you boil this whole thing down? Like if you were trying to explain this to a friend, what's the simple version?
This is probably the best way to think about it. Imagine you meet someone who has literally read almost every book, every article, everything ever written. You don't have to teach them a new task. You just show them a couple of examples. You want a poem like Shakespeare? You show them a few lines, and they just get it. They see the pattern, and they just run with it.
And that, right there, is the big idea behind all the AI assistants we use now. It's not a bunch of separate tools cobbled together. It's one model, one kind of mind that can adapt to tons of different tasks, just in the moment. So really, what this paper did was change our whole relationship with AI. It showed us it's not just about what the AI knows. It's about how it responds to us and to the instructions we give it. It's more like a dance, where what we do directly shapes what it does. Which leaves us with one last really important thought. If these AIs are designed to adapt to our instructions, to learn from the examples we give them, then what does that say about the instructions we're giving? How good are they? How clear? How responsible? That's the huge conversation this paper kicked off, and honestly, we're still right in the middle of it today.